for old-fashioned recipes and your gardening needs, while sipping on Kentucky bourbon. You sit right back in your big red hat, we're taking rural back from the urban. Listen to the stories with Kentucky proud, share the giggles with all of your friends. You all are tuned in to Friends Drifting.
Hi, I'm Joyce. Welcome to Friends Drift In, episode number 10, your source for the farm-to-table movement in Eastern Kentucky. Today we have Joel Worth, who is a professionally trained chef. He is also a saucier in a former life. He works for the Pike County Cooperative Extension Service as an assistant. And let me tell you, since the Master Gardeners meetings, now that we're having dinner, they've improved 200%. So I'm really tickled to have Joel here. We're going to go to the Mediterranean today, in Italy. Yes. And we're going to take back what the Italians took from us, tomatoes and peppers that came from America, but went overseas and came on back.
And made them better.
What are we going to do, Joel?
All right, first of all, we're going to do, I call this dish a Mediterranean pasta. And when the season is right and you have those beautiful heirloom tomatoes, that's what I suggest to use. Right now we're going to use a crushed tomato that's canned, because actually that's a better product. So when it's time to use your fresh tomatoes, what you need to do is it's called a tomato concassé. And
a tomato what?
A tomato concassé, as they call it in the French term. Or we just call it, if normal way, you just call it chopped up tomatoes with the skins off it. First thing you want to do is you want to take where the core is, and you want to cut that core out. And they do make a little tool which is called a pooper scooper in the trade, which you can just take it and do like that. If you do numerous of them, but you're only going to do a few of them, that's all you need to do. And then you turn it around and you make an X on the back. And all you need to do is pop it in boiling water. And you want to pop that in for maybe about a minute, maybe 2 minutes at the most.
Well, this is exactly the same process you would do if you were canning tomatoes to pull the peel off. Because the end product, that's what we're doing, is to get that peel from the tomato.
Because the tomato, when you cook with tomato, that makes it bitter when you cook with the skin. So we're going to wait that and let it go for a minute.
Okay, let's talk about tomatoes while we're waiting. This is a plum tomato. This is called a plum. San Marenzos are one of the best tomatoes to grow. Its seed catalogs are coming out, so you want to look for San Marenzo seeds. They are a meaty tomato. They are very plump and plush. They cook down to a wonderful sauce. So San Marenzo tomatoes is what we want to look for. Some other things that come from Italy while we're waiting, we have radicchio, which is like kind of a cabbage.
Yes.
What would you say about radicchio?
It's a cross between a cabbage and a lettuce, and in this country, it's an acquired taste because radicchio is a little on the bitter side. But if you have a nice, if you mix it, it's a thing that you don't want to eat by itself. But if you mix it with different greens, it really gives that nice little contrast and depth of flavor, especially with a good vinaigrette. Okay, so this is done. Now what you want to do is put this in a colander and let it cool. But being that we're only going to have a few minutes, and you can see
it just slips.
How this slips. It just slips right off. And then boom.
We're ready to go.
It's ready to go. And then what you want to do is cut this in half. And then, I'm going to use a little paper towel here, is you want to just take it and just take the seeds out of it as much as you can. You mash it, and it takes the majority of the seeds out of it. And then that's it. And then you got it, and then you chop it.
So we chop it up, and we got fresh tomatoes for the base of our pasta. When we talk about bases, that's what a saucier chef does, is make bases.
Yep.
So you did chicken stock, you did beef stock, all from scratch.
Yes, chicken stock, beef stock, fish stock, and I also did a lobster stock when I used to do my lobster beds.
In a previous life, you cooked in Atlantic City.
Yes.
So you kind of take a roll of the dice?
Yes, yes. And it was a roll of the dice, and it was kind of interesting cooking. You got to see how the other half lives, as they say. And I remember I had a client, never forget his name, Ned Randall, and he had what they call he had comp dollars that were just, he could just spend as much money as he wanted. He would come in, and anything that man wanted, he got. And I took care of him, and he took care of me.
All right.
So that's the tomato concassé.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is we're just going to add this with our rest of our tomatoes.
Okay.
Right here.
That.
And the other thing I want to show you is another way to peel garlic.
This is so cool because I've never seen anybody do it quite this way, and I'm always looking for new things.
Now,
garlic
you
cloves
peel garlic, and if you all have fresh garlic, if you have a meat mallet, okay, and I had to buy one of these recently because I did a stuffed chicken dish at home for Thanksgiving, so I had to buy one of these, and my wife looked at me and said, "Joel, you bought another kitchen gadget. What are you going to do with this?" I said, "We'll never use that." And I looked at her and said, "Yeah, I'm going to need it when I want to do Parmesans and I want to do other meats." And I said, "Also," I said, "it's a great way to do garlic." And she looked at me and said, "What do you mean?" So I did the garlic thing, and all you have to do is you take the flat end right here, and you just go a couple taps, and voila, you have whole peeled garlic.
Peeled garlic that fast, and I mean, I sit and I'll peel with the knife, and it
now
takes
you do
so
it with
long.
the knives, and you can
You
crush
do that,
it.
yeah.
But if you just a couple
doesn't do
taps,
as good.
you
No,
do a
it
couple
does
taps,
much easier with the
and
the
then
meat
boom,
flavor.
you have peeled garlic.
Y'all can find garlic in bins. To get fresh garlic, they're usually in the bins in the produce section at Food City and local grocery stores. But fresh garlic is always better than canned.
Yes. Yes.
All right.
Okay. Well.
Now, what is going to go in this pasta extravaganza?
Okay. In this pasta dish, we are going to use beef today, and one thing great about this dish, it's a pasta dish, and you can use beef, you can use chicken, you can use seafood,
or you can do
tofu, or just plain vegetarian, just use vegetables. And today we're going to use portobello mushrooms, we're going to use onions, garlic, zucchini, yellow squash, fresh baby spinach, which I picked this morning down at the Extension Center. And here's my little plug. Make sure you all, if you don't grow your own, if you don't have your own gardens, Wednesdays and Saturdays, probably at the end of March, we're going to have our farmers market. You get some beautiful vegetables there, and they're all locally grown. So, and fresh herbs, and with the beef. Now, if you're going to use beef, you want to slice it very, very thin on an angle, and you want to marinate it for about 30 minutes to an hour. And the best marinade, as far as I'm concerned, is soy sauce, because the soy sauce.
We use Matt Jamie's soy sauce because Matt's a Kentucky proud guy.
That's it, and it's made here, right?
Right, it's made in Louisville.
So there you go, and that's a cooking fallacy, is when people think, "Oh, I'm going to marinate it in Italian dressing, it's going to be tender and all that," which is not. It actually doesn't tenderize it at all. But if you do soy sauce, it's the salt and the soy that makes that beef or chicken nice and tender. Now, seafood, you don't have to do that. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to heat our pan. And this is a combination wok fry pan, as you can see. It's flat on the bottom, it's got the round edges. This is the thing I cook with most of the time. I mean, this is a great, because you have the sides that you can put things up, and you got the flat for when you want to saute or if you want to pan fry. So we're just going to put that on the stove, and we're going to use
Georgia olive oil.
Georgia olive oil, because prior here I lived in Georgia for 22 years, so I'm kind of fond of Georgia.
This is a big deal. Italy is, of course, where most of the olives are grown commercially.
And Spain, yes.
And this has just started. They're doing, you've heard of small batch bourbon. This is small batch olive oil, and they're growing it in Georgia. It's one of the first times that we've ever grown it on this country.
Yes.
And they used to do that way back before the Civil War, and we got away from it, and now they're starting to come back. So everything old is new again.
And if you would, let me do right here. I'm sorry, I need to get my little bit of beef, because I cooked most of it, but I just wanted to see and show you how thin this beef is.
There you go.
And this is how, when you go to Chinese restaurants, they don't use expensive beef. But you notice how that beef is usually just melts in your mouth?
Yes.
Because they marinate it in soy. That's the best marinade you want. So we're going to take a little bit of olive oil, put it in the pan. And that pan's probably already good and hot. And we're just
now, how do you know if it's hot enough?
Well, if you can just take one little piece of beef and you hear it sizzle.
Hear the sizzle. Y'all know how I feel about sizzle.
How do you feel about sizzle?
I like it when we sizzle.
All right, then we're in business.
Oh man, that smells good already.
Yep, and you can smell, and the thing about it is, you don't have to add any salt, any seasonings, just plain soy sauce, that's all you need. So you're going to, and the great thing about this pan is, when like, you can tell I'm a chef because I got the flipping action, but when it flips, you got the size it curls up to. So you're not going to do it in a regular frying pan if you do that. Most of the time it goes on the floor. But with one of these wok type fry pans, it works really, really good. So while the rest of this is cooking, Joyce, let's get the pasta over. And
we're using a whole wheat pasta today. This is locally available at Food City, Hogston Mill. They're known for their whole wheat, and I think that whole wheat pasta has got a little more depth of flavor and makes it a whole lot more interesting than just the plain white.
Yes, and not only that, it's not a wasted carb.
Right, right. You're getting your vitamins.
The one thing you want to do when you cook pasta is you always want to salt your water, because that'll give you the flavor in the pasta.
About how much salt did you put in there?
I
always have trouble with salt.
I put a good 2 pinches.
Okay.
And if you're not sure, you can always taste a little bit of the water if it's got that nice salty flavor, because that'll absorb in the pasta. And if you don't do that, your pasta's kind of bland. So our meat's already cooked. That's behind you. So I cooked a little bit earlier. And we're going to go with a little bit more olive oil. And then we're going to start our veggies. And the first thing you want to do is you want to add, this is fresh garlic and fresh onions. So you want to add that and get that going. And you can also do, we got yellow peppers and we got orange peppers. But you can use green peppers, you can use red peppers, you can use any kind of pepper you want. Actually, it's any good vegetable. You can add broccoli to this, green beans.
Green beans are great in this.
Yep.
And whole beans particularly are Italian. What about canidi beans? Could we use canidi beans?
Yeah, you use any kind of bean you want. And if you want to do vegetarian, you can use a dry bean. You can use...
Now we're doing the zucchini. Y'all know zucchini. You can start your plants indoors about March. I like Black Beauty zucchini is one of my favorites. Then for the yellow squash, I like yellow prolific straight neck. And they are a short season. They only take about, once you put them in the ground, you're going to have zucchini in about 30 days. And if you put out more than 6 or 8 plants, so will your neighbors. They'll have lots of zucchini.
And that's okay. Zucchinis are great. You can make zucchini bread. You can put it in anything. Omelets. And we're just going to cook all these veggies up for a minute.
When we talk about Italy, you don't really think of Appalachia being part of the Italian culture. But back in about the 1920s, we had a great influx of Italian immigrants. They came here with the coal mines and the railroads, and they were stonemasons. So they didn't work as much in the mines as they built a lot of structures. The Pine Mountain Settlement School, the chapel there was built by Italian stonemasons. And you will find on Johns Creek that there are some heirloom tomato seeds that came from Italy. And I suspect that they came as the stonemasons came through the area practicing their trade.
That's it. And while she was talking, I was
you
just
stuck
adding
the
some
mushrooms in on me.
I
You're
did.
moving too fast.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll
When
slow
you
down.
buy mushrooms, these are portobellos. A portobello, when you look, you want to see that it's got a very even this is what they call gills, just like gills in for a fish. You want to see that it's pretty and even and not distraught on the bottom. And when you wash these, you want to just take a very lightly damp paper towel and just barely wipe, because this will absorb all the water.
Yes, they're very water absorbent.
And you don't want that. That's not a good thing. So you just barely wipe them down.
And the best way to chop these is, because if you're going to do this, it's going to be really big, so you want to cut it in half, and you just take it like this.
Fancy.
But the main thing is when you chop, and this is the main thing I tell people, you see where my fingers are. My fingers aren't out like this. If your fingers are out like this, you're going to cut yourself. So if you remember to do this right here, this actually has a guide. And you can get as thick as you want, or you can get as thin as you want. I mean, I can make these things paper thin, or you can make them big. But when you do this, and you go like that, you're going to cut. Eventually, you're going to cut yourself. But if you use this, if you bend your fingers back and use that as a guide, you're not going to cut yourself.
Safety in the kitchen.
Okay, so let's get back to what we're doing.
Now, why did we wait and do the sequence that we added the vegetables? I mean, when you think about, you know, mushrooms are softer, so is it because they cook quicker?
Yep. Yes, they cook quicker. And your peppers take a little bit longer. Okay, the next thing we're going to add is I have some fresh Italian parsley.
This is a flat leaf parsley. This is what it looks like before we cut it.
And then
go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. And
this is Italian flat leaf parsley. It came from Kathy Raymeyer. She grows it up in her garden up on the college. We should talk a little bit about the college. How did you come to Pikeville from New Jersey?
How did I come to Pikeville? Well, actually, New Jersey via Georgia is my wife. Excuse me, I got to stir my pasta because you know it's Italians. My wife was a college professor, and she teaches English now at the University of Pikeville. And we were in Georgia, and she said, "You know what? I need a change of pace." And she looked at me and said, "Can I put some feelers out?" And she put some feelers out from around the country. And the University of Pikeville said, "We're interested in you." So we came to Pikeville and said, "Why not?" Because I kind of like the mountains.
It's cool. It's cool to be a hillbilly.
Yeah.
I'm teaching you. We're gonna break you in right, y'all.
Well, you know, part of my, I'm 50% Italian, and the other half of me is 50% Piney. And Pineys are people that live in the Pine Barrens in New Jersey. And that's just the Yankee version of a redneck, okay? We just don't get the rednecks up there. So
what next?
We're gonna put our herbs in. Our parsley and our basil. We got some fresh basil too.
Fresh. Did you have that already cut, or you want me to pull the leaf?
No, it's already cut. Okay. It's already cut in there. So if you want to show them a piece of, and that basil smells so good.
This is what a basil leaf looks like. Now, I regret to tell you that basil doesn't keep well in the winter. You can't really grow it. It's very cold sensitive. Basil is a part of the mint family. When you know that it's the mint because it has the stem, and I don't know whether you can pick it up, but mint family always has a square stem. But the thing about basil, anytime you're working with basil or mint, you usually, chef, you should be tearing it and not chopping it, because it will turn black, right?
Yes, it will. Unless if you're going to chop it, you need to use it fresh right away.
Oh man, and that just smells like summer.
It is. And the difference between, the one thing about the difference between basil and mint, even though it's in the mint family, where mint is a perennial, basil is an annual. So if you want to grow it in the wintertime, you either got to do it in a greenhouse or a tunnel or in the house.
Right.
So our pasta is almost ready. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to hit this with a little bit of wine, because
you got
to have wine. So we're going to hit this with a little bit of wine, and then we're going to let that reduce. And the thing is with the wine is you can use a little bit, you can use a lot, it all depends. But if you use a lot of wine, you're going to let it reduce down. I guess in this dish there was maybe about a quarter of a cup.
You're removing most of the alcohol.
Yes,
basically, you're just getting the essence of the grapes.
And the flavor. So we're going to let this reduce a little bit. And the next thing we're going to add is we're going to add our tomatoes. And
we talked about this. it's much better to grow your own tomatoes, but Food City does have the San Lorenzo available. They're a little bit pricey, but if you really want the flavor, look for this label, San Lorenzo, and you will have some of the best eaten tomatoes that God put on this earth. Took them over to Italy, brought them back.
That's it. That's it.
We love it.
I often want to do, there's, you know, Italy and southern Spain. There is a town in southern Spain that they have this annual tomato festival. And
where they throw the tomatoes?
Yes!
Yes, I've seen that on TV.
I would love, you know, and I know it's just like, oh my God, look what you're doing on tomatoes, but when you see them, it just looks so much fun. It looks to me a lot funner than the running of the bulls. I don't know. I'd much rather have tomatoes thrown at me than have a bull chase me, but that's just me. I don't know.
I'm ready.
I just want to taste my pasta here real quick. We're going to put it over here in the sink.
Get on screen to do that. They can't see you over there. Tell me how you're tasting your pasta, how you know, what do we call it, al dente?
Al dente, you want a little bit of crunch, and you can tell that pasta is just about there. So
it's not soft, y'all. It's got a
little crunch to it.
Chewy, and al dente means to the tooth.
Yes.
So just a little chewy, and you don't want to overcook pasta because it gets soggy, and then it won't take up the flavors, the other flavors of the vegetables.
So now we're going to add our tomatoes to this. And we're going to cook this a little bit longer.
So pretty.
Yes, and as you can see, look how beautiful that looks. You got all the colors. And the last thing we're going to add is the beef. I'm going to add spinach and a little bit of heavy cream to give it that. Well, while that's cooking, I'm going to dump this pasta because we don't want to overcook it.
Right. While Joel is draining the pasta, I want to talk to you a minute about lemons. Lemons come from the Mediterranean, and I'm very fortunate that a friend of mine sent me some from Arizona, and let me tell you, fresh lemons smell so good. And to make your own, we're going to make your own homemade soda today. So what we're doing is we're adding simple syrup. You've all seen me do simple syrup before. It's 2 parts sugar, 2 parts water. Just kind of cook it off. Some fresh squeezed lemon juice, and then it wouldn't be Italy.
That's right.
If we didn't have mineral water.
And they call it mineral water with gas over there.
And mineral water without gas would be what, Perrier?
No, that would just be a plain bottled water.
But this is mineral water available locally. This particular one is available at Food City, so it's nothing fancy. No big deal, easy to do, and so refreshing. So you about ready to plate up?
Yes, we're going to be ready. The last thing we have to do is we add a little bit of spinach to the end, okay? Because you want to get that nice green color, okay? Then you want to add your beef. See, what's great, like I said, what's great about these pans is you can flip it and it doesn't go all over the place.
So beautiful.
And then you just want to finish it with a little bit of heavy cream. Now you don't have to use the cream if you're watching your, if you're watching your waistline or if you're high cholesterol, but the cream just gives it that nice little.
It makes it silky on the palate.
Yes. And then the last thing you want to do, as all good chefs do, is you want to, because we need a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper. Okay, and now we're going to do another little twist. And then now we are ready to plate.
All right, I'm going to come behind you and get that pasta.
Okay.
And you're going to put it in this bowl, right?
Yep, just put some in that bowl.
I'm not going to put it all in there because you're not going to have room.
And then you want to add this beautiful little dish
all
right
the
here.
Vegetables.
And then you just want to toss it.
Toss it. You don't toss it on the ceiling?
Well, we can do that, but I don't want to get, this is too good to waste.
All right, we'll plate it up.
If I had my dog here, I'd do it because, she'd be on it. Okay, so.
Plate that up and tell me a little bit about the antipasta
Okay, antipasta is it's a first course in Italy.
And what does it include? Olives.
It includes olives. This has marinated artichokes. It also has marinated okra.
My okra grown in my garden.
Yes, and different types of olives and some locally grown capers.
All right.
Okay, and how to finish this off is we have some Parmesan cheese. Because everything's better with some fresh grated Parmesan cheese. And we are ready to enjoy.
Let's make this out of the way. Put this here. Let's take a bite. All right, get over here.
Hope it's okay. Ah.
All right, what about me? What about me?
It's actually not bad.
Don't save it all for yourself. Oh, fresh vegetables. Tastes like
fresh
summer.
Herbs.
We've got this wonderful homemade
Fresh drink.
lemon soda. And you know what we say on Friends Drift In. Share the giggles.
There you go.